to, for us to have basis, we must have fair presentation in compliance with PFRS. So when it comes sa fair presentation, it should have the characteristics of faithful representation. When we say faithful representation, we have to report what really happened. Na mai-report natin, mai-present natin faithfully, okay, and fairly ang ating financial statement. So it should be complete, neutral, and free from error. Okay, and syempre, it should be in compliance with PFRS. So, kapag nagawa nga tayo ng financial statement, when it comes sa mga elements, okay, let's say sa balance sheet natin, meron pang mga breakdown dyan ng assets, ng liabilities. Okay, so, may sarili-sariling accounting standard yon. So, dapat sundin natin ang PFRS kung paano sila evaluate, paano i-recognize, and even de-recognize. Okay, so, the application of PFRS with additional disclosure, when necessary, is presumed to result in financial statement that achieve a fair presentation. So, kapag daw nagko-comply with PFRS, then dinidisclose natin any necessary information, it complies with the fair presentation of financial statement kasi complete. Diba? Andun lahat ng information na kailangan. So, same way with the conceptual framework, sa PS1, we should elaborate as well that this is following the going concern. So, an entity is not a going concern if, as of the financial reporting date, or prior to the date of authorization of the financial statement for issue, management in the either. So, ito yung mga instances wherein malalaman natin na ang isang company, kumbaga, hindi na sila going concern. Okay? So, meaning they are at the point of liquidation or permanent termination. Okay? So, ngayon, ayun nga mga instances na they intend to liquidate the entity or to cease trading, they would stop. Okay? Bebenta na nila. And letter B has no realistic alternative but to do so. Involuntarily, okay, they have to close. Like, for example, pinasara sila ng government and other regulations. So, that's the time na hindi na natin susundin yung going concern. But, if these particular instances are not present, okay, so ang assessment of going concern natin is at least 12 months. Okay, so let's say yung para masabi natin magdi-disclose, i-close na yung company, hindi na tayo magpapatuloy paggawa ng financial statement for the future periods, okay, kailangan meron tayong assessment ng at least 12 months. Okay, so but kapag walang evidence ng mga nakita nyo kanina, okay, we will still continue presenting the financial statement and the concept of going concern. Okay, so under PS1, we're also following the accrual basis of accounting. So, when we record assets, when we record liabilities, and even revenue expenses, we have to follow this particular concept, diba? So, when we say accrual basis, when certain revenue or expenses occur, we have to recognize that disregarding when was the time of collection or time of payment of cash. Okay? So, an entity shall prepare its financial statements except for cash flow information using the accrual basis of accounting. Siyempre sa cash flow, under cash basis yun. But other than that particular financial statement, we must follow this particular concept, accrual basis of accounting. Okay? So, we also must follow materiality and aggregation. So, each material class of similar item must be presented separately in the financial statement. So, kapag material ang isang item, wag natin siya i-classify with the similar items. We have to present that separately because of the materiality it has. Okay? So, para mas bigyan ng emphasis, we have to separate that in a separate line item. But, for the similar items with the same classification, we have to follow the aggregation wherein we classify that as one. Okay? Napagliwanag natin na ang asset nga classify natin as current and non-current. Okay? Liability, same way. Okay? So, we could also follow the offsetting. Generally, offsetting is not encouraged by the standard and even conceptual framework, but it happens. Okay? It is applicable as well, depending on the industry ng client natin. Okay? So, pag sinabing offsetting, ang ibig sabihin lang yan, pwede natin i-offset yung balance ng element of financial statement natin sa isa't isa. Okay? Let's say, merong assets, company, meron siyang liabilities. Like, for example, si company, meron siyang receivable sa company A. Kasi ganito, company A tayo, then si company B, yan, okay? May receivable tayo kay company A. At the same time, may payable tayo kay company B. So, in that case, since we have receivable and payable to that particular company, we could just offset that. But, it is not encouraged. And may mga rules, okay, for us to apply this offsetting. Okay, but offsetting commonly happens and on the investment industry wherein we offset derivative assets to derivative liability given the instances that they have the same broker. Okay? So, let me read this one, but the key point natin sa slide na to. Assets and liabilities and income and expenses shall not be offset unless required or permitted by PFRs. As I'm saying, this is not encouraged by the standard, but if the instances permits or it requires for us to offset, we must do so. Okay, so measuring assets net of valuation allowances, for example, obsolescence allowances on inventories, allowance for doubtful accounts or receivables, and accumulated depreciation of property, plant, and equipment are not offsetting. So, wag kayong malito kapag ninenet natin yung allowance for bad debt sa receivables, yung accumulated depreciation sa original cost ng ating non-current asset, hindi yan offsetting. Okay? So, ang offsetting natin is yung meron tayong asset and liability sa ibang entities and we just offset it. Okay? So, huwag kayong malilito sa concept na yon. So, ngayon, through PAS1, it also gives us information about the frequency of reporting. So, it has the same concept with the conceptual framework, but on the PS1, sabi dito, an entity shall present a complete set of financial statements, including comparative information. So, as we've discussed on the objective of PS1, at least annually. Diba? Kung natatandaan niyo sa conceptual framework, sabi, ang requirement ng conceptual framework at least annually. Same way with PS1. Okay, so the PS1 saying that each company is required to present at least 1 year. Are they allowed to present financial statement for less than a year? Yes. Okay, so and sometimes nga nire-require pa ng mga other government agencies na mag-present ng financial statement for at least less than a year. Let's say quarterly financial statement. This is a requirement of the BAR. Okay, but if we follow the PFRS or the PAS, it just says that ang requirement dapat makapag-present tayo of at least 1 year period. Okay? So, when an entity changes the end of its reporting period and presents the financial statements for a period longer or shorter than 1 year, and the entity shall disclose the following. Okay, so let's say, si company, they opt to present the financial statement for more than a year. Kasi minsan may mga companies na kailangan talaga nila for more than a year ang kanilang regular reporting. Bakit? Kasi iba yung normal operating cycle nila. Usually kasi ang normal operating cycle is 1 year. When we say normal operating cycle, dyan kabilis, ayan yung period wherein meron tayong cash. Yung cash natin, ginamit natin to buy a certain materials. Then, naka-receive tayo ng cash or receivable pabalik. So, that is the operating cycle. But, for some companies like, malalaking company like car trading, yan, yung mga, kumbaga yung malalaking amount, yung binibenta nila. Hindi minsan 1 year talaga operating cycle nila. It takes them almost 2 to 3 years. Okay? But, in that case, since if the company is opting to report it for more than a year or even less than a year, it should disclose the following: the period covered by the financial statement. So, we must elaborate on our notes to financial statement yung period cover ng ating financial statement. Even on dun sa cover page ng ating financial statement, we have to state that. Okay? Kasi mahalagang malaman ng external user nang titingin yung span ng reporting period na yun. Okay? Then, syempre, yung reason why why the company opts to or adopts the longer or shorter period. And syempre, sa dulo, yung mga amounts presented in the financial statement are not entirely comparable. So, since it is presenting the financial statement for more than a year, okay, kasi ang regular 1 year, so kailangan natin ma-present, ma-elaborate doon na it is not comparable as compared with other entities na 1 year lang ang reporting period. Okay? So, That's for the frequency of reporting. But based on the PS1, it only requires us to present at least 1 year. Okay? But we could present it for an interim reporting period for ibig sabihin less than a year. So we must follow as well the comparability characteristics. Okay? So we have the financial statement on PS1. For us to achieve the our objective, it must be comparable. Okay? So there should be comparative information. 'Di ba kanina nga na-explain natin. Meron tayong comparability and intra-comparability. So, an entity shall present comparative information in respect of the preceding period for all amounts reported in the current period's financial statement, unless other standards permit or require otherwise. So, based sa PAS1, it really requires us, okay, to present our financial statement for a comparative period. So, kapag kaya nga, diba, sabi ko sa inyo, pag nagawa kayo ng financial statement, hindi lang yung current period. Kapag present nyo na yan, let's say you are preparing the 2021 financial statement, you must also present on the other column your 2020, which is the prior period. So, for us to have intra-comparability, okay? Or intra-comparison. Ma-compare natin from period to period. Okay? So, that is one of the requirement of the PS1. We must present it in a comparative way. Okay? So, consistency of presentation. So, again, for us to better achieve the comparability of the financial statement, okay, sa ating under PS1, it should have consistency. Okay? So, an entity shall retain the presentation and classification of items in the financial statement from one period to the next unless these instances occur. So, syempre, 'di ba, mahirap talaga naman mag-compare, okay, kapag pabago-bago. So, kung hindi naman kailangan magbago, okay, ng ating mga accounting concepts na sinusunod, hindi not accounting concept, accounting principles and accounting methods, kung hindi naman in even accounting policy, kung hindi naman kailangan baguhin, wag natin baguhin unless these instances arise. Like, for example, it is apparent that another presentation or classification would be more appropriate following a significant change in the nature of the entity's operation or review of its financial statement. Let's say, hindi na talaga applicable sa kanilang particular accounting standard na yon, accounting policy na yon, we have to change, okay? But if hindi naman kailangan, wag. Okay? Then letter B, syempre, kapag nire-require na talaga ng standard na magbago ng presentation, like, dati iba yung standard para sa leases. Ngayon, may bago na siyang standard. So, if the standard or the IASB requires us to change our accounting policy, we must follow. Okay? So, but if there's no evidence or there's no need to change accounting policy and accounting method, we must present our financial statement consistently. Okay, meaning wag pa bago-bago ng methods and policies na ginagamit para ma-achieve natin yung comparison. Okay? So,